Welcome to Storied Audio. Olivia and Mason could argue about absolutely anything. They met through mutual friends in their mid-20s, and from the very first conversation sparks flew, not the romantic kind, at least not on the surface. Whenever there was a birthday party, backyard cookout, wedding reception, football game, or holiday gathering, Olivia and Mason somehow found themselves standing together, arguing. They debated movies. They debated music. They debated which football team would win. Once they spent nearly 20 minutes arguing over whether hot dogs counted as sandwiches. Their friends would simply sit back and watch the show. Emily laughed every time. "I don't know why you two fight so much," she said. "You're basically flirting." Olivia nearly choked on her drink. "I would never date him." Mason smirked. "Good. I couldn't handle someone this stubborn." "Oh, please. You started this." "No, you did." Everyone laughed even harder. Eventually someone would always say the same thing. "You two are meant for each other." Olivia and Mason would answer together. "Absolutely not." The more they denied it, the funnier everyone found it. Years passed. Life became busier, but because they all shared the same circle of friends, Olivia and Mason continued crossing paths several times a year. Nothing ever changed. At least that's what Olivia believed. What she never noticed was that Mason always made sure to sit near her at dinners. If she mentioned needing help moving furniture, he somehow showed up. If her car wouldn't start after a party, Mason was already under the hood before anyone else offered. She assumed he was simply being nice. She never imagined there was another reason. Then Olivia inherited her parents' house. Cleaning out the family home was almost impossible. Every room held memories of birthdays, Christmas mornings, family dinners, and late-night conversations around the kitchen table. When the attorney finished explaining the estate, Olivia learned the house had been left entirely to her. But there was still a large mortgage balance. Her parents had refinanced years earlier after expenses piled up. Olivia sat at her kitchen table night after night, staring at bills and trying every possible budget. She couldn't make the numbers work. Selling the house felt like losing her parents all over again. Weeks later, an envelope arrived from the bank. She almost tossed it aside, expecting another payment notice. Instead, she froze. The mortgage had been paid in full. She blinked several times. There has to be some mistake. She called the bank. No mistake. She called the insurance company. They hadn't paid it. She contacted the attorney handling her parents' estate. He hesitated before finally saying, "The person who paid the remaining balance requested to stay anonymous." Olivia refused to give up. Several days later, after enough paperwork and phone calls, she finally discovered the truth. The payment had come from Mason, the same man she'd spent years arguing with. She sat silently on her couch staring at her phone. Nothing about this made sense. After nearly an hour, she finally sent a text. "Can we meet tomorrow?" His reply came less than a minute later. Of course. The following afternoon, they sat across from each other in a quiet coffee shop. For once, neither of them had anything sarcastic to say. Olivia finally broke the silence. "Why?" Mason smiled. "You'll have to narrow that down." She couldn't help laughing. "The house." His smile faded. He slowly wrapped both hands around his coffee cup. "I knew what that house meant to you. But why would you pay off my mortgage?" she asked softly. "We don't even get along. We argue constantly." He laughed quietly. "Olivia, arguing with you became my favorite part of every party." She stared at him. "I looked forward to seeing you." He took a deep breath. "Somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you." The words hung between them. "I know it sounds ridiculous," he continued. "I never expected you to feel the same way. I never paid off your house because I wanted something in return." He smiled sadly. "I just couldn't stand the thought of you losing the place that held every memory of your parents." Tears filled Olivia's eyes. No one had ever loved her that quietly. Or that selflessly. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Thank you." After a long hug outside the coffee shop, they went their separate ways. But Olivia couldn't stop thinking about him. For an entire week, memories kept replaying in her mind. She remembered him carrying heavy boxes without being asked. She remembered him fixing her flat tire. She remembered how every argument somehow ended with both of them laughing. She realized something she had somehow missed for years. Every one of her favorite memories with friends included Mason. Maybe those arguments had never been about disliking each other. Maybe they had simply been two stubborn people refusing to admit what everyone else could already see. A week later, Olivia drove to Mason's house. He opened the front door looking surprised. "Everything okay?" She smiled nervously. "I've been thinking. That's usually dangerous." She laughed. "See? You're impossible. So I've been told." She stepped closer. "I think our friends have been right all these years." He raised an eyebrow. "Oh. I think I've been falling in love with you too." For the first time in years, Mason had absolutely nothing to argue about. He simply wrapped his arms around her and kissed her forehead. Several months later, they arrived hand in hand at their friend's annual summer cookout. The backyard fell completely silent. Jake looked around dramatically. "Does anyone else owe me $20? I told you this would happen." Everyone erupted into laughter. Emily pointed at them. "We've been saying you two belong together for years." Olivia buried her face in Mason's shoulder, laughing. "I can't believe they were right." Mason grinned. "I know." She looked up at him with a playful smile. "You realize I'm still going to argue with you. I wouldn't have it any other way." Their friends cheered. And for the first time, Olivia realized the greatest love of her life hadn't appeared out of nowhere. He had been standing beside her all along, smiling through every argument, loving her in silence and waiting patiently for her heart to catch up with his. Subscribe to the channel for more audio stories.